All right. All right. I'm going to share my screen and we will get going. This is going to be fun. I think it'll be really, really interesting.
Yes, let's go.
Make my screen the right size. That way I can toggle between slides, which is always nice. All right. Welcome to a copy conversation. This is harnessing AI to amplify your voice. And I am Kelly Harris. Awesome. We got a few people coming in too. So we'll wait just a sec. Nice. All right. These copy conversations are part of Modern Business Mastery. I am a resident council member. My job is to help guide entrepreneurs to find your voice and to live purposefully and powerfully through the confidence of your messaging and really coming to terms with who you are and what your voice is. I make your messages matter. I help you convert subscribers from just regular subscribers to super fans effortlessly with my heart framework. I am a mom to 4, so I do know multitasking, and I am a master at project management because my kids range in age from 8 months to 14. And then we also have 2 beautiful dogs. I am married to an amazing guy, and we are building this life together. So it's an interesting one for sure. If you'd like to connect with me, you can do it via Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm there a lot. Or send me an email. It's Kelly with a Y at kellyharriscreative.com. With Modern Business Mastery, this is one of our community sessions. And we'd love for you to connect with us. You can connect with us in our free community. It's 100% worth it. Take the time, go sign up. It is a community like you will not find very many places on the internet. Like and subscribe to us on LinkedIn or Instagram or even YouTube. It's a great place and a great community, and you're going to find people that are going to help you move yourself on the path to greatness. Like I said, here's our free community. You even get a QR code. What we do every month is we do sessions and mini trainings. We do monthly virtual sprints. We do sessions like this. We also have copy clinics, which we do have one next month coming up. So you can submit your copy and I will give you my hot take on it, what's working, what's not working, and what we can improve. We also have a fitness and nutrition support for entrepreneurs. And we also have a LinkedIn specialist that comes in and helps us with that. And then there's tons of worksheets, templates, workshops, lots of wonderful, wonderful things happening there. So please, please, please jump in. It's totally worth it. And if you're ready for even more support, you can join us in the Modern Business Mastery Academy. It's a step up from the free community with custom business strategy, a custom business portfolio. They're going to actually help you every step of the way, personalized support, and it's a community of collaboration. Not only do they get access to the free sessions in the free community, but this is another community, and it's, like I said, it's worth taking the time and the energy. You're not going to find a place like this. It's going to support you very many places on the internet. Same stuff here. Master M360 is a year-long business initiative mentorship community that's going to combine one-on-one coaching with your weekly group sessions to guide us through business week by week, because we weren't meant to do life alone. We need help, we need support, and we need people who understand it, because if you're like me, my husband says, I understand what you do, sort of, not really. And it's very different from what other people do. And if you have friends and other people in the community, they get it because they live it. They are behind the screens. They know what it is, because a lot of, like, the very first time I told him that I was a copywriter, he said, I think you might be a master BSer. And I was like, you're not wrong, but I help people make money with it. So that's what we do. So if you don't live it, you don't really understand. And they try to support us, but it's so nice to have a community that's going to be there that actually is like, no, I get it. Like, your kids are sick. They're running through the house half naked. Like, we get it. Like, it's life. So consider joining that. It's totally, totally, totally worth it. And then, like, yearly courses and workshops, if you're ready to level up everything, very, very affordable and very worth doing. And even joining the newsletter, there's great things happening in all of that. with our MBM community, our Modern Business Mastery, we have all kinds of things coming up. We have work bubbles where you can get a lot done in a 4-hour sprint. We have Nourish and Flourish with our resident council member who is a nutritionist, comes in and helps us create energy and focus in our business so that you are not just stuck behind your computer eating, bad things for you. Copy clinics with me, where we find our voice, we grow our business, we get tips, we get guidance, and we figure out how to step into the truest version of us and how to really build those connections through the written word. Then we have reflection and planning sessions where we harness our superpower each month to plan and implement with clarity. And then community sessions like this one, where you get training and live support each month. So with all of that being said, and I know I talk fast, so if you're watching the recording, feel free to slow it down. I will try to talk slower. We're working on it. It's a process. With all of that being said, though, let's go ahead and jump into harnessing AI to amplify your voice with me, Kelly Harris. Today, our goal is to consider some key things about AI that we want to consider. We want to discuss the role of AI and the implications of using it in your business. We want to talk about how we can kind of teach it to start to learn our brand voice, and then how are we going to harness that to really utilize it for content repurposing so that we're actually working smarter and not harder. The very first thing that we want to consider is there's 4 things that the internet talks about in reference to AI. The first one is bias. AI has become very prominent for over the last 30 years. It started in the 1990s with little chat bots and things like that, and it has really become more mainstream. But the problems with AI fall into 4 categories: bias, transparency, accountability, and privacy. And the problem that we're going to run into is that AI is moving so much faster than any laws. And so a lot of the laws and things are way behind AI. So you really need to consider these problems as you start to implement it and use it in your business. The first is, like we said, bias. According to IBM, AI bias is where the machine learns a bias, or an algorithm bias basically means that humans make errors and the machines will pick up on those errors and either repeat them or go the opposite direction and not repeat them at all. And here's a really quick little story my husband was telling me yesterday. A little bit off topic, but kind of will show you this bias. So there was a guy who was trained in AI to play Pokemon on like Nintendo Switch. And he trained the AI that based on points. So like when it caught Pokemon, it got points. When it did other things, it got points. But he didn't actually train it to, there's a way in the game where you take your stuff and you deposit it, and it's like a storage kind of, but he didn't actually say that it could keep its points. So the first time this AI did it, it lost all of its points. And since the AI wanted points, it refused to actually do that action again. Even though he went in and he tried to retrain it and it didn't work, he ended up having to scrap the entire algorithm, rewrite the code, and then go back in so it to do it again, because it had a bias that if I do this action, it will have a negative result. I don't want that. And so you have to realize that AI is being trained by humans. Humans are a bit fallible. We make things. And so sometimes it's going to distort the output, and it could potentially tell you harmful or untrue things. It's based on the information that it's gathering. And so because of that, you kind of have to run it through this filter of, do I agree with this or do I not agree with this? Can I Google it and say yes? Or like for a while, I actually did train some AIs, and AI is very bad about like dates. Sometimes it will get the dates wrong. So it'll tell you something happened, but the year it happened is not actually the year that it's telling you that that happened. So that's the first thing. The next thing is transparency. So AI has a well-documented, but it's poorly understood. Basically, 51% of businesses reported that AI transparency and ethics are important for their business, but that 41% of senior executives said, we actually just suspended using AI in our business because it's potentially an ethical issue. So we don't know where this is coming from. This was actually one of the big fears that I had when AI first came out, was it was like it's scouring the internet, getting information and spitting it back at you could be a huge copyright infringement issue if it's just copying what it's finding and spitting it back to you. As AI is kind of progressing, it's actually starting to tell you where those sources are. And I feel like this is Wikipedia in the early 90s when they were like, Wikipedia is a great place to like go look and then go down to the bottom where the sources are and then go look at the sources and actually get your information. Like, so right now, though, a lot of places, it's not super transparent where this information's coming from, and it could potentially lead to some issues in your business if someone was to say that's copyrighted material, or that's my framework, or something like that, where it's proprietary. That could potentially come back and not be a good thing. Another thing is accountability. There's nobody that's keeping track. Nobody's keeping track of what's going through the AI, what's coming back. In fact, so much so that the accountability actually started, the things that are in place right now started coming from places like ChatGPT. A couple years ago, right around the time that the pandemic was starting to wind down, the three major open AI, what are they? The groups, whoever they are, the businesses, got together globally and said, the laws are not going fast enough. The process of actually keeping this accountable and maintaining this and what we should do and shouldn't do is so slow through a court system. We need to make our own rules, and we're just all going to agree on it. And I think it says something when three competing businesses got together and said, we have to make some rules and we have to agree that we're going to follow these rules. I could probably look up the rules, but it came down to accountability on what we were going to use AI for, what was a good use of AI versus a bad use of AI. And then, like I said, the other thing that comes into play here that's a potential pitfall is privacy. The internet is super commercialized, mostly unrestricted data collection. People are collecting your data all the time. Every time you go to Target and you swipe your debit card to pay for it, someone is collecting that information and looking at your buying trends. What are you buying? What ads are they going to send you to target you so that they can actually make more money off of you? And so there is just so much stuff that privacy wise that you just have to be aware of. And you just have to understand that our systems are data hungry. They're always looking for more information. They're always trying to collect this information. And the minute you put something out on the internet, it's not really yours anymore. It kind of goes to the greater good. And even things that you're feeding into AI could potentially, AI could be using and storing that data and then spitting it back out to someone else. So all things to consider as we start to step into AI, and to understand that we have to understand what we're getting into before we're like, cool, I'm just going to use this in my business. And I know, like I said, I am kind of going kind of fast, but I wanted to get that stuff out of the way because I didn't really love starting with a downer, but I also feel like we need to understand that potentially the information we're getting from AI is either going to be very helpful, but there is a potential there where if we're not using it for the greater good, or we're just cutting and pasting and copying and pasting, that it could potentially bite us in the hiney. And it kind of puts us into the context of like, here's how we're going to do this. Here's the right way to use AI versus the maybe not ethical, not great for our business's way to use AI. So the role of AI, how are you going to use it in your business? How are you using it now? What's its role? I have met people who literally have been like, oh, I fired my copywriter, I fired my social media person, and I just put it all in AI, open chat GPT or whatever we're using at this time, Outlier or whatever. And that's what I cut and paste. You have to understand, if you're doing that, you're going to sound like the 20, 30, 40, 100 other people that are doing the exact same thing. This isn't about creating a shortcut, because there aren't any shortcuts in business. If someone hasn't told you that, or if they told you that, they lied. But because it's about figuring out how to utilize this as a tool. It's a tool. 100% it's a tool. So how do you use it in your business? Here are some of the pros for using it in your business. It can help you make better decisions. It can help you, I was actually taught I'm going to back up. When I first started with AI in my business, I actually had somebody say, like, you need to pivot your business. You're a copywriter. AI is going to take your business. And so for a little while, we kind of were a little fear-based, and we kind of went through that, and then realized that, like, the more I saw it as a tool and the more I realized that people want to buy from people, the more okay I was with saying, cool, it's a tool. Now, how do I use it in my business? When I use it, I talk to it like it's a friend. And so it can help you make better decisions in terms of, hey, I have a question, or maybe I have these two ideas. Hey, ChatGPT, what do you think? Well, like, this is my business. You always kind of have to start with by telling it what you're doing or what your context is. And then you can say, like, can you give me pros and cons to this? Could you let me know what do you think I should do? Or what would be 3 benefits of doing whatever? 1 second, guys. Sorry, my oldest has a question. Sorry. My 5-year-old is apparently giving my 14-year-old a run for his money. Like, so it can improve the customer experience because you're one person, you're the CEO of your company. And sometimes you love your business more than everybody else and you miss something. And if you don't look at it from the customer's experience and what their experience is when they're coming to you and your business, then you are missing a real opportunity. Because at the end of the day, and honestly, with the rate of, we get like 10,000 marketing messages thrown at us a day. And I think that number's probably even gone up. And we are to the point, I feel like, in society where the businesses that are going to survive are the businesses that are creating an experience. The businesses that are just there for the almighty dollar are not going to continue because people are getting to the point where they're like, I want an experience and I want to work with somebody that I feel like we could really be friends in real life. And so AI can help you improve that experience. It can help you analyze a lot of data really, really quickly. One of the ways I use it when I work with clients is I will say, like, do you have any emails that you've sent out? Have you had any social media? And then I just copy and paste it into AI and say, like, give me the themes. What words are being used over and over again? If I was to ask you what the client's voice was, what would you say? And it gives me a starting point for me to be able to analyze a ton of data really, really fast, which is wonderful about it. And I spelled personalization wrong. Awesome. Some personalization, because it can get you to the point where you're being able to do a little bit more. But again, this is a tool and it can give you competitive advantages because sometimes it allows you to see things that you weren't going to see before. As far as cons go, there's a cost consideration. If you go ahead and pay for the yearly subscription, that can get costly pretty quickly. If you buy several of the different AI open models, then they can compete and it can get pricey pretty quick. Like we talked about, there is data and privacy security concerns because we don't really know what's happening with that. We don't know what they're doing with our data. We don't really know if they're going to spit out our algorithm or our proprietary information to somebody else. And also there's just this lack of a human element. Like, it's a computer, it is programmed. I've actually had arguments with people who are like, oh, I can train AI in 4 different clients' voices and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, you're still missing the human piece. And when you really just focus on just using AI for everything, you're missing out on such an opportunity to really begin to, like, say, this is a tool and I'm using it to move my business forward. We talked about the potential for bias. It can cause job displacement. Like I said, there have been people that I've worked with and other copywriter and entrepreneur friends who have been told, like, we're phasing out your job because AI will do it for us. It's not going to do it as well. It's not going to do it. A lot of times it's the same information that it's giving to other people. If they put it, like, think of it like a code. If you're asking for social media and you're an electrician, it's going to give you, if that's all you're asking for, it's going to give you the social media that it gives every other electrician that's putting in that information. And so it's not actually allowing you to stand out in the crowd. It's not allowing you to get above the noise. You're becoming part of the noise. And then there are some integration challenges that come into play as you use it in your business. Like I said, a lot of times I have never copy and pasted, and I always tell my clients, nope, this is a tool. Our goal is to let it get us 80% there. That's it, 80%. We want it to do 80% of the work. And then we can step in and we can make sure it's in our voice. We can make sure it's what we want to say, what we would say. We can make sure that we actually agree with what we're getting ready to put out into the internet. So how do we teach it our voice? If we have time at the end, I can pull up mine, but there isn't a way, even on the free version, to go in and say, like a new conversation. I think you get like 20 conversations a day. I actually use one thread. Like I have a thread for my newsletter where I literally will say, here's my weekly email. Can you please turn this into a LinkedIn newsletter with 2 to 3 action steps? And it's one thread, and I don't start that new every single time. I'm letting it learn over time. And on that particular instance, I've done a lot of my work up front because I'm already taking emails that I personally wrote and stick it in there. So it's already got my voice. It's already got kind of, usually there's already at least one action step that's really easy for it to pull out. And like I said, I talk to it like it's a person, and I'll show you some examples here in just a minute. And then one of the things that I had a coach friend tell me, tell it your mission and your vision. Tell it what your goals are. Tell it what your content buckets are. Because it's only going to use the data that you are giving it. So if you just walk in and you type, hey, I need social media posts. I'm a copywriter. Go. It's not going to look the same as if you said, here's my mission, here's my vision, here's my goal. Now, like right now, my content this week is XYZ. Can you help me with those parameters to create 3 social media posts? And then you're going to be a lot more effective, and you're going to have a lot more something that is a lot easier to clean up and a lot more likely in your voice. So it's already done a lot of the work for you. So we'll look at a couple of examples. These are just screenshots. When I say use one thread, I have a thread for an email blitz because I wanted to put out, hey, give me 3 social media posts, 3 Facebook posts, and 3 Instagram post ideas for being able to push out my lead magnet, because they did a lead magnet boot camp a couple weeks ago. And so it gave me 9 different ideas for that. For my social media, literally all I do is I go in and I say, here is my LinkedIn newsletter, because I just had it created. So I put it in Google Drive, I polish it up a little bit, then I put it back in ChatGPT and say, here's my newsletter. Can you help me get 3 LinkedIn posts from this? Or give me 3 LinkedIn post ideas and 3 Instagram post ideas, or give me a YouTube script based on this. And it does, but I keep my threads continue to go. I use one thread for my newsletters. I use one thread for my social media. I use one thread for different things that I've done, like the glow method was I said in a masterclass, and they said, here's this method for coming up with 6 words or less ideas for when you are doing presentations. And so I have a thread that's the glow method. So anytime I need ideas, we go back to that method because it's already been trained on how to use it in that thread, if that makes sense. Ways I've talked to it. One day I asked for stuff and it was like, here, and it gave me this random thing. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, like you completely missed the mark. Let's try this again. Because I was just talking to it like a friend, like, oh, wow, like, no, like that is absolutely not what I was after. Like, or there have been times where I've said, that's not a bad start. Can we simplify this further? What action steps do you have that make this? Or great, thanks, friend. Can you do the same with this text? And then I've added that text underneath. The more you talk to it and you let it know its voice, the better off you are. And so I just, that's basically how I was taught to use it. Was we talk to it like it's a person. We talk to it and we're going to be kind to it, because if you're not kind to it, you're teaching it bad things. Don't teach it bad things. Because we saw the Terminator movies in like the 90s. Okay. We don't need that to happen. I can show you in just a minute when Rose at the end, we can go back in it and I'll show you what it is. But also personalize, like I said, tell it your mission, tell it your vision, tell it your goal. Do not take it at verbatim what it's telling you. It has to sound like you. You have to run it through this filter of, is this something I would say? Does this sound like me? Is this an action step I would really give people, or are we just way out in left field at this point? The goal is to use it to work smarter, not harder. We want AI to do 80 to 90% of the work. That's it. AI is doing 80 to 90%. And then we step in as the humans and we polish it up and we make it sound like us and we keep going. This is my warning to you. Do not ever copy and paste straight from AI. That is bad. It's not bad. Nobody's gonna, like, the internet police are not gonna come find you. But it does have it does have repercussions in the fact of you're adding to the noise if you're just copying and pasting. You're not really stepping above the noise. And yeah, you're losing your brand voice and your brand, your personality and all of those things. Even your brand, to a certain extent, I feel like probably won't survive if you're just copying and pasting, because you become like everybody else. And we don't want to do that. Like, that's the goal, is not to be everyone else. So if you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're going to sound like everybody else. And like I said, see, this is important to me. This is why it's here multiple times. The key is to let AI do 80% of the work, and then you step in. So how do we harness this? And we've talked a little bit about this. How do you harness this to use for yourself, for content repurposing? Things I've used it for social media posts. I've used it to turn my emails into LinkedIn newsletters. I've used it to write a YouTube script. I even had someone tell me, like, did you ask AI about the code? Did you ask it, like, cause I said, does anybody know custom code on the back end of ConvertKit? And the response was, well, did you use AI? And I was like, huh, I didn't even know that was an option. Sure, let's see what happens. And it did. It gave me the custom code. It gave me Java. It gave me HTML, which I had in college 15, 20 years ago. So I was like, this looks kind of familiar, but I'm just going to copy and paste. And then what I was able to do was, like, it didn't work. So then I took the whole thing in ConvertKit and put it back in AI and said, this is my code. And AI said, it has some mistakes. I was like, awesome. Can you fix them? And it did. So it rewrote the code for me. So things that we've used, like I said, social media posts. All I asked it was, hey, can you help me repurpose these action steps into social media posts for LinkedIn and Instagram? And then I just copied and pasted from my newsletter. These were your action steps. And it's like, absolutely, here you go. My emails. This is the one. Oh, wow, you completely missed the mark on that. How about we need to turn this newsletter into a newsletter with 3 action steps and a call to action. And what came out? Oh, cool. I understand now. Try this. And actually, if you go to my LinkedIn, this was one of the articles that ended up being dropped. And then, like, took my newsletter again, said, hey, can you turn this newsletter into a 5-minute script for YouTube? And like I said, we can look at this in just a minute. It was ridiculously detailed, like dark lighting in the room. The camera pans over to a person sitting at a chair with a book. I actually was on a call with a friend when it generated. I don't know, I was laughing because, like, this is very detailed, and some of it I agree with, and some of it, no. This is entertaining, but maybe not business entertaining. And like I said, here's a copy of it. So, like, opening shot, calm, inspirational music playing. I mean, I was impressed on how detailed it was, but also I was like, who's going to do that? That's an entrepreneur. Like, who has a corner of their house set up for this calm, inspirational shot? Like, not at our house with 4 kids. Like, it's just not going to happen. But again, if that's something that you're interested in, it's going to start to generate it to give you a place to start. The coding, like I said, hey, can you help me with some custom code for ConvertKit? I'm trying to move text under this, and can you help, friend? And it's like, cool, here it is. It did not work, by the way. Here it is. This is what you need to do. I said, cool, we tried it. It did not work. Hey, can you help me turn this in these 6 powerful words? Can you help me reword this to be powerful in only 6 words? This, if you didn't know, this was the original title of this presentation, was how do we leverage AI? Because it was like, I know what I want, but my brain hurts and I don't want to overthink this. So AI, please help me. And that's where we started. And then from there, It was like, cool, we've leveraging AI. We're doing more than leveraging. We're harnessing it and helping it be our superpower. And yes, someone said, and I agree with this, AI is only as good as the prompt that you give it. And the more detailed you can give it, the better you are. You can even say, hey, here's my prompt. I'd like you to include these words and give it these words. Because if you do, it's going to be more specific. Now, it doesn't always work within that, but most of the time, AI is programmed to work within the context of what you give it. So if you say, I need a 160 word LinkedIn article based on this, this, and this, and here are my values, and here's what I'm trying to do, and here's what I'd like the call to action to do, it's going to give you a much better response than if you're like, hey, I need a 160 word article on using AI. Like, it's just not. So the more specific you can be, I think you're right. Like, the more specific we can be, the better off we are, and the better off we are is really going to help us be true to our brand and true to our voice. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people miss this, but it's a tool. It's just a tool, like your computer's a tool, like your printer's a tool. It's not meant to do the work for you, because if it did, then you're not actually doing your business. You're letting a computer tell you what's working and not working within your business, and that may or may not actually be the truth. So the key takeaways, like I said, you're going to have to train it. Like you said, the more specialized you can be, the better off you are. Using one thread so that it continues, because if you keep a thread, it's going to continue using all that information that's in that thread. So the more you use it, the more specific it is, the more it's kind of learning and you're kind of training it. And it can help you get a lot done. Like I said, I use it for emails to convert to newsletters, from converting the newsletters to converting that into some social media ideas, because otherwise I spend hours staring at a computer being like, inspiration, please hit. But if I can stick an AI and say, I need 6 ideas, or I need 3 LinkedIn ideas, I need 3 Instagram ideas, it's going to give me a place to start. And then, like I said, the most important part of this is let it do 80% of the work, just 80%. Let it do 80% of the work, and then step in and really personalize it to actually be your brand voice and your brand, and to make sure that you're in alignment and with the integrity that you want to have in your business. Because if you're just copying and pasting, you're losing that. So do you guys have any questions? I know I kind of went through it kind of fast. And like I said, we can also go through my chat GPT. That's all fun and games.
I love this, Kelly. This is so good. Do you use the paid version of ChatGPT? Use the free version. So do I. And it's still
Yeah.
like really
It's
powerful.
it's pretty, like I haven't found a need yet to
Yeah,
use the paid
same.
version, because the free version, at least of chat GPT, lets you have a ton.
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
so robust in and of itself. Like, I don't need 100 threads a day. I'd be on the thing all day long. I need like 4 threads a week, or maybe 10. Like, otherwise, like I said, and let me go ahead and I'm going to stop my share, and then I'll pull up my chat GPT and we can dig through
Awesome.
it, because it's all fun. I figured that would be something
Oh,
that would,
yeah.
like, that way you can see in real life what we do. And full disclosure, guys, a year ago, 2 years ago, I'd have been like, ChatGPT, no, hate it, no. It's like, fine, yeah, don't look into the light. That's where we were. And now I'm like, no, it's a tool. We can make this work. It's gonna be okay. We're not gonna die. It'll be fine. But yeah, and I also think it's important to say, like, this is, at the end of the day, like, where things are moving, they're moving towards you being able to do more in your business, and understanding that doing more in your business, you're going to have tools. Because you go online and you see somebody they post every day on Facebook, they post every day on Instagram, they post every day on LinkedIn. They're, sending out 10 messages, 10 cold pitches, and 5 emails a day. They're not doing it alone. 100% they have a team behind them. I guarantee you. Because the goal of like, how I use ChatGPT is as my paid assistant, like my non-paid assistant. It's my intern. That, because you're competing at times, not really competing, because I believe more in collaboration, but you're going to see people and feel like you need to compete with them. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And so if you can make your work easier, that's a win.
Absolutely. And I think especially for like those of us who want to have intentionally small businesses, who don't want to have like a ton of people we're managing or on payroll or whatever, the tools and the systems are what's going to allow us to scale or to do the things that we want to do, to post where we
Yeah,
want to post without burning out. Because it's
right.
hard. It's hard
You'll
creating content.
Yeah, and you'll spend hours doing it. So why not let ChatGPT build you, hey, I need 7 post ideas this week.
Repurpose it or just, yeah, help you parse out like the best parts of it. That's,
100%.
yep,
Or
yep.
you asked about the GLOW method, so I'll tell you what it is. So using the GLOW method, this is what someone gave me. GLOW stands for grab attention, make your names descriptive and business and benefit oriented. Less is more, so we want it to be short and sweet, 2 to 3 words if we can keep it. Optimize, so using creative language and alliteration for memorable names, and then words matter. So this is actually something I got like from another coaching call I was on. And they call it the GLOW method, and I basically said, "Hey ChatGPT, here's the GLOW method. Can you help me name my new offer? Here's what the GLOW method is, and here's what I want the offer to be." And it said, "Cool, here are ideas." And it gave me a bunch of ideas. And what ended up happening, because this is what usually happens when ChatGPT and I have a conversation, cool, good start. Let me clarify. Like, so I want to focus on people, and I have this heart method. So then I dropped in my formula, my proprietary information, and said, cool, here's some better ideas. And what ended up happening was I usually take a little bit from this one and a little bit from number 2 and find something that I feel resonates with me. Does that help? Because I know like I have a lot of things like this that are random methods and things that I've gotten from people. Because this one's called the 6-word framework. Cool. Can you help me reword this in 6 and only 6 words? In 6 powerful words. Let's be powerful in 6 words only. And I've used it a couple of times. Like, hey, can you help me get your life back with 2 years of content templates? It said, let's try this. I said, cool. Can you help me with this? AI advantages and learning to use AI as a tool for your business, because that was the theme of this presentation. It said, cool. How about this? I said, okay, can I have another suggestion, friend? And it gave me something else. And I was like, okay, good idea. Now let's that's giving me an idea. That's giving me a place to start. So I don't have to, as far as putting down my own proprietary information, I tend to be very careful with it. If we went back over here to the GLOW, what you'll see is I'm not giving it a step-by-step. I'm telling it what it is. I'm not saying here's how I do it. It's here's my framework. This is what it stands for. So I'm giving you the what without giving the how. Does that make sense? Because a lot of times when they tell you to do social media, they will tell you, talk to people about the what. You can give them a how, but don't give them the whole thing, because the whole point of the how is how they can be successful when they work with you. So like I did give it the hey, here's my my proprietary formula, my framework. Here's what it means. But I didn't say like, here's each step that we take within each piece of that framework. Because also like I don't want people to take my proprietary stuff. So yeah, I didn't show how I'm going to execute it or apply it. I just said, this is what it is. Help me come up with name suggestions. Because like I said, talk to this like a friend that could steal your stuff. Like that sounds terrible, but like talk to it like a friend, but also understand that you don't really know what it's going to do with the content that you're giving. Like you're asking it for it to generate ideas, but here's the thing. How is it generating ideas? It's generating ideas based on other information that it's being able to compile and pull from. So if you're being really specific about how to execute it and how to yeah, pretend it's a friend that might steal your ideas, because it's a friend that might steal your ideas. Exactly. Like, because you don't know. You don't know that if somebody's going to come back and say like, hey, I'm a copywriter. Can you help me come up with a framework? And it be like, here's the heart framework. It's in its database. So why wouldn't it pull it? And even if that person was to be like, oh, cool, I like that, the way they apply and execute it is likely going to be very different than how I apply and execute it, unless I've told ChatGPT every step, if that makes sense. So like other things that I have done, every once in a while, I'm like, what does that even mean? Move form below text. Good question. Oh, more, this is all the, so it will give it a name. So a lot of times if I keep the tabs, because I do typically, I will rename it something that I can recognize. So that when I know, like, next time I need code, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to the custom code, and I will know that that is where we have dabbled in the code world. And like the Glow framework, I know because I've renamed it. I know that that is the tab for that. Like the opt-in was fun, opt-in ideas, reworking emails. I actually have one that I use fairly regularly. Actually, I used this a couple days ago. Yeah, you can totally rename it. Like this one, every week I literally say, hey, can you help me turn this into action steps? Don't know if you know how to do this. If you hit control and enter on your computer, it will move it to the next space. So I will ask ChatGPT what I want to ask it, and then I will control enter to move it down to another line. And then I put the text that I want it to look at, just because I don't like big blocks of text anyway. But this is essentially the email that went out today. And from that, this was my newsletter that went out today. Like, this is what we can do. Here are your bolded action steps. And what's funny is even this, I went back and I reworded part of it because I was like, didn't love the way that's worded. And then from that, I usually take what, like I said, I open a Google Drive, I drop it in, fix the things I want to fix. And then I go to social media and I say, hey, social media, this was yesterday or this weekend when I was working on it. Hey, can you help me turn this LinkedIn newsletter into 3 LinkedIn social media posts and 3 Instagram posts? And then I dropped in the newsletter. And from that, it's like, cool, here's post 1 of the LinkedIn post. Here are your ideas. I'm not having to work, like, it's giving me something to work with, because here's the deal. And I tell people this all the time as a copywriter, the best thing that you can do is get your ideas down. If that means you have to do a brain dump, like, oh my gosh, I have all these ideas for my business, and you brain dump it and you brain dump it and you brain dump it, it is so much easier to tweak something that is on paper or on a Google Doc than it is to be like, my brain says, I'm really not sure. I've been up for 3 days with a baby that, like, yeah, it's once it's out, it's so much easier to say, oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah, I'll show you my newsletter and just, that's a really good idea, or that's not a great idea. Because once it's on paper, like, one of the reasons I love brain dumps is once I get that out, it's almost like my brain's like, cool, you have more space for more ideas. And so then other ideas will come. And now it's on paper, or it's, in ChatGPT, or it's in Google Docs, where you can be like, cool, I have all of this information. This is a place to start. This is a place to move forward with. So yeah, Kelly, are you asking how to make your newsletter from other content that you've had? Is that what you're asking? Which you can come on live. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, so what I do, actually, I'll just give you, here's your copywriter's guide to how we write emails around here. Is I keep my emails when I write them in a Google Doc, surprise, surprise. And how it starts is I have a theme for each month, and I have what my offer is. That goes at the top of each month. So like April, here's my theme, here's my offer. And then I have a place for ideas, woohoo, because like I said, getting ideas out is so much better than trying to keep it all in your head. And from those ideas, I literally start with this email number 1, and I'll put the date that I want to send the email out. What do I want the subject line to be? If I want to preview, I say, hey name. I actually don't even do that anymore, because I went to an email training that said, don't start with hey whoever, because your grandma doesn't do that. Most of the time, if we're friends, we just type, here's my question. We don't be like, Christina, I have a question. Like, we don't do that. That's not how we talk. So when you send emails, they said, don't put a subject or don't put a hey or a dear whoever. So I don't even do that anymore. But this is what I start with. So I've got this. And then what I do is I literally come over to ChatGPT and I say, don't tell me that. Of course it will. Why not? So we come over to ChatGPT and I will say, just like I did, hey friend, can you help me turn this email into a newsletter with action steps? And then I literally just copy and paste it. I do not usually put, like, I end my emails with your cheerleader. I don't put any of that into this. I just put the meat of the email in here, This is my thing. And like I said, I'm specific. Can you help me do this with action steps? I put it in and it says, cool, here's your email transformed. Here's action steps. Do I agree with it? Do I not agree with it? And I take it, kind of modify it, tweak it around a little bit. And then like at the end, it said, PS, hit reply and tell me who you serve. I literally said like, hey, comment below and tell me who you serve. I'd love to be able to connect you and connect with you and add you to my referral list. So like a lot of times they're little tweaks. And if I'm really honest, I feel like I do my 20% of work kind of up front because I've written the content that it's taking and repurposing into a letter, if that makes sense. Same with the social media. I'm like, this is my email that I just wrote. I've already done the work on the front end. Please help me on the back end. So hopefully, do you guys have other questions or you want to see other stuff? Like as I said, there's all kinds of stuff in here. Like okay, perfect. This is my confession time. I'm an elder at church, and if I have to go and do a prayer, sometimes I make ChatGPT write them for me. I have them write them for me, and I'm like, oh, like yesterday, I had to do the communion with the bread and the stuff, and I literally was like, our sermon was on, like helping other people and like being a person that people could really, you know, trust and whatever, or I was on giving, like being in service and giving. And so I literally was like, hey, ChatGPT, can you please write me a communion prayer for disciples of Christ and add something about being of service to each other by giving and being, open. And so it did. And so I went through like literally 10 minutes before I'm supposed to do the prayer. And I was like, that part I keep, like, drop it into Google Drive. This part we keep, this part we don't keep. I don't know what that is. I don't like it. It's too long a prayer. Like this part's gone. Like I did. And how do you make your content sound like you? So like the way I do it is a lot of times I will start. First of all, I'm not going to take anything at face value here. But when I start, a lot of times, I don't know if it says it in the newsletter, a lot of times I will start with, sorry, we're going way back. That was the original one. I didn't even ask it. I accidentally dropped it in without asking it to take content. So I literally just put my email in and it said, sounds like you're doing amazing. And this is so well thought out. It's like, thank you. And I said, can we add action steps? But a lot of times I'll have to see where I can find it. A lot of times I will say, here's my mission. Here's my vision. Here's words I use often. That those words being embedded within it will actually, or like, I want to talk about service, or I want to talk about authenticity, things that are important to me. I will tell it to do that. And that's how it's going to start to make it sound like you. Is if I had a client a long time ago who when he really liked something, he'd be like, that's golden. And so that was hey, can you put that phrase in here a couple of times? Because that automatically made it sound like something that he would say. He would talk. And a lot of times, another thing that I do is I will record the conversations and then have them transcribed, because then I can transcribe it into ChatGPT and say, what are the themes? What are the words that are being repeated over and over again? Because those are things that I can take as a copywriter and then use as I'm helping people write their content that's going to just help them sound like it's written in their voice. And the goal, honestly, as a copywriter, like that I do, is the goal is that no one ever knows that you hired a copywriter. The goal is that someone says, oh my gosh, I loved your email. How did you find time to do that? And someone says, oh, yeah, my copywriter did that. So any other questions, guys? You've had so many great questions. And like I said, this was a kind of one of those things I felt like I needed to do, but also I think there's something to be said for learning how to use AI.
Yeah, and to talk about the little nuances too, right? Because that's where you sometimes are like, oh, what about this? What do I do about this? And when you can learn from other people, that's really, really helpful.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming today. I hope you found it useful. If you have any other questions, drop them in or email me, because yeah, I'm here for it. And if there's a question I don't know the answer to, I can always find out. Like we can ask GPT. It's always a place to start. Like, give me resources. Like, where can I go and have this question answered?
Yes.
So
Thank you, Kelly, so much. This is great.
yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.